Welcome to the another class, students. I hope you are doing well and fine. May God bless you. So, let me remind you, we are discussing, rather we have been discussing digestive glands for last many days, and in present video I am gonna discuss one more digestive gland, that is known as pancreas. In the last video I explained the functions of liver, right? So my today's topic is pancreas. So let me write here, let me start. My topic is pancreas as a digestive gland. Pancreas. So this is my topic. Let me tell you, this pancreas or pancreatic gland, it is the second largest gland. First we have discussed, that is liver. So it is second largest gland of the body, right? But very interesting about the pancreas is that this is not only exocrine gland, it's not only the digestive gland, rather this is an endocrine gland as well. So this pancreas, it is both exocrine as well as endocrine gland of the body. Exocrine glands have their own ducts, so it is having its own ducts, right, which carry the secretions towards the duodenum, towards the small intestine. And endocrine part, they don't have their ducts, they are ductless glands, and these endocrine glands, they pour their secretions directly into the blood. And this pancreas is both exocrine as well as endocrine. So it produces some enzymes, very important juice, that's called pancreatic juice, and it also produces many hormones, very important hormones that you might have heard about, insulin and glucagon. These are the two important hormones produced by the cells of the pancreas. Where they are secreted, we will discuss in the upcoming point, right? Now this pancreas, if we see externally, let me draw a diagram here. This is, for example, the C-shaped curve of the duodenum. This is the first segment of the small intestine, what you call as duodenum, C-shaped curve. And in this C-shaped curve, there is this gland that is known as pancreas or pancreatic gland, like this, right? So now if we see externally this pancreas from the external morphology, it is approximately 60 grams in weight. This pancreas is approximately 60 grams in weight. Now so far as the length and breadth is concerned, this pancreas is 2.5 centimeters in width, right, and so far as the length from this to this, right, from this end to this end, the length of the pancreas is approximately 15 centimeters, right. So this pancreas, it lies in the curve of the duodenum here, towards the left side, towards the left kidney, towards the spleen, right. Now from the external morphology, this pancreas is comprised of four parts. First is this is known as head, which is very much in contact with the duodenum. This is duodenum, right, and this part is known as head. Then the second part, like let's say this one, this is known as neck, and the rest of this pancreas, it is known as body, and the terminal end, that is this one, this is known as tail. So morphologically there are four parts of this pancreas. There are four parts. Let me mention again in theory here, right. First is head, The first part of the pancreas is head, next is neck, then third is body of the pancreas, and the last segment is known as tail, right? So this is the morphological, external morphology of the pancreas: head, neck, body and tail. Now so far as the location is concerned, as I have already discussed and I have also drawn here in the diagram, this pancreas, which is both exocrine as well as endocrine gland, right? This pancreas, it is present, so far as the location is concerned, it is present in the C-shaped curve of duodenum. It is present in the C-shaped curve of the duodenum, as you can see from the diagram, right? This is its location. Now, as I told you that it is having two parts, one is called exocrine part and endocrine part. But before we discuss its exocrine part and endocrine part, let me tell you the ductus systems of the pancreas. What are the ducts? What are the various types of ducts in the pancreas? In pancreas, there are two types of ducts. There is a bigger duct, there is a large duct, right? And there is a smaller duct. A bigger duct and a smaller duct. If I will draw in the diagram here, let me show you this big duct. This is the duct here, right? And this duct of the pancreas, the main duct of the pancreas, this is known as simply pancreatic duct. It is known as pancreatic duct, or it is also known as duct of Wirsung. Sometimes asked, what is the duct of Wirsung? Duct of Wirsung is the another name of the pancreatic duct, duct of Wirsung. This is the main principal duct of the pancreas, and this is the bigger one. And let me tell you, this bigger duct, that is duct of Wirsung, before it opens into the duodenum, it joins the common bile duct, which is coming from the liver, from the gallbladder, right? And this common bile duct and the pancreatic duct, if you will watch the previous video, in that video when I discussed liver, structure of the liver, and in the first very lecture of the liver, I think I discussed, here is a junction of these all ducts. That junction is known as ampulla of Vater. So here let me draw again. This is, for example, the ampulla of Vater, which is actually opening into this ampulla of Vater is opening into the duodenum. So this pancreatic duct or duct of Wirsung, it joins the ampulla of Vater before it opens into the duodenum. It does not directly opens into the duodenum. So this duct of Wirsung, let me write here, duct of Wirsung, yes, duct of Wirsung joins the ampulla of Vater before it opens into the duodenum. And if you remember, I told you that this ampulla of Vater, it is a junction of the duct of pancreas, Wirsung's duct, and the common bile duct that is coming from the above, right? And before this ampulla of Vater, it opens into the duodenum, it is guarded by a sphincter that is known as sphincter of Oddi, right? And this is already done in the previous lecture. So here my point is, what are the ducts of pancreas? In the pancreas there are two types of ducts. One is bigger, a larger, that's known as pancreatic duct, duct of Wirsung. That do not directly opens into the duodenum. It joins the ampulla of Vater, which is a junction formed by the common bile duct and this duct of Wirsung, and then opens into the duodenum. But there is an accessory duct as well, a smaller duct is there. An accessory duct, if I will try to draw in the diagram, let us say this accessory duct, which directly opens into the duodenum. It does not join the ampulla of Vater. This accessory duct, this small duct of the pancreas is known as duct of Santorini. Santorini, 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 right? So let me mention again. There are two types of ducts in the pancreas. Sometimes you are asked and you must be able to answer the questions. There are two types of ducts in the pancreas. What are the ducts? Name the ducts. One is known as duct of Wirsung. Duct of Wirsung. That is the main and the principal duct of the pancreas. This one. But it opens into the duodenum via the ampulla of Vater. And another that is directly opening into the duodenum, directly opens into the duodenum, that's known as duct of Santorini. So these are the two types of ducts that you can see in the pancreas, right? So this is the duct system. Now coming to the another point, another aspect of the pancreas, that is its structure. What about the structure of the pancreas? So in structure, let me tell you again, this pancreas, it is exocrine, and it is endocrine. So it is dual in nature. It is having two types of nature. So when a gland is both exocrine and endocrine, we call that type of gland myxocrine gland or heterocrine. Crine means secretion, hetero means different. So both we can say also, hetero means both. So there is exocrine secretions, exocrine part, and there is endocrine part in the pancreas. Now let us discuss one by one. We will discuss first this exocrine part, that is actually the point of our discussion, because we are dealing with the digestion and absorption, digestive system. So from the digestion point of view, this part is very, very important for we people right now to explain, to understand. We can go into the details of the endocrine part in the endocrinology, that is the last portion of our syllabus so far as class 11th is concerned. Lastly, we are supposed to discuss in the physiology, control and coordination, endocrinology and nervous system. So we can go into the details of the endocrine part of the pancreas in that very part. Here I am trying to make you understand what is the actual structure of the pancreas. So you have to remember that this pancreas is made up of two parts, exocrine part and endocrine part. If I will move on to this one, that is exocrine part, this exocrine part consists of, many, I mean to say millions of lobules. There are millions of lobules, or these are also known as acini. Acinus is singular, acini is plural. So this exocrine part, if you will take the microscopic anatomy of the exocrine part, if you will observe this under the microscope, section of this pancreas under the microscope, you will come across millions of lobules or acini, and these lobules or acini are called as pancreatic lobules. These are called pancreatic lobules, or these are also called pancreatic acini, right? Now if we want to understand this point, for that we need to draw one more diagram here. If you want to understand this diagram, then you need to repeat the video, you need to go back, right? So let's move ahead. If we take a section of pancreas from anywhere, from the head or neck or the tail, then we will see these type of structures are there. This is one pancreatic lobule, just like a flower type structure. So from here we have also, let me draw, right? Here I can draw one more, here I can draw one more, So these are the actually the lobules are acini, pancreatic lobules are pancreatic acini. So let me label here, this is pancreatic lobule or acinus, right. This is actually the exocrine part of the pancreas. These lobules are the exocrine part of the pancreas, and these exocrine parts of the pancreas, these lobules or these acini, they actually produce an alkaline juice. They produce an alkaline juice. Alkaline means the pH of the juice is 8.4, alkaline, basic. So these pancreatic lobules, which are millions in number in the pancreas, right, if you take section anywhere, you will see these lobules are there, and these lobules are these acini produce, their epithelium produce an alkaline juice. That juice is known as pancreatic juice. Pancreatic juice, right, pancreatic juice. And the daily secretion of this pancreatic juice by these pancreatic lobules or pancreatic acini is 800 ml per day. This is the daily secretion of pancreatic juice, 800 ml per day. It may be sometimes more than this, less than this, depending upon the condition of the pancreas, right. But generally in a normal person, pancreatic juice is 800 ml per day, and it is an alkaline juice 8.4. Now, and let me tell you again, this pancreatic juice, it is produced by these pancreatic lobules or pancreatic acini, which is the exocrine part of the pancreas. Now, so far as the composition of the pancreatic juice is concerned, that is very, very important for we people, so that we can understand the digestion and absorption point. So far as the composition of, let me write here, composition of pancreatic juice. Here we go, pancreatic juice, composition of pancreatic juice. This pancreatic juice is a complete juice. It is known as complete juice, because we have also seen gastric juice in the gastric glands. Saliva is one more type of juice, right. We also have one more type of juice in the intestinal glands, that's intestinal juice, right. But this one is a complete juice, that is pancreatic juice. Why complete? Because in pancreatic juice there are enzymes for all the types of molecules. Whether it is carbohydrate, there are enzymes for carbohydrates, pancreatic amylase. There are enzymes for proteins, trypsinogen, chemotrypsinogen. There are enzymes for nucleic acids, right. There are enzymes for lipids as well. So that is why this juice is complete juice, that is pancreatic juice. There are enzymes for all the types of molecules which are digested in the small intestine, right. Now, so far as composition is concerned, this pancreatic juice is 99% is water. 99% of pancreatic juice is water, right. Now, the rest, that is 1% of the pancreatic juice, only 1% of the pancreatic juice is some solids. Some solids are there, and these solids constitute both organic, there are some organic and there are some inorganic substances. Please remember, 99% of the pancreatic juice is water, H2O, and 1% is solids, and solids are organic and inorganic. So far as organic are concerned, these are different types of enzymes of pancreatic juice, These are different enzymes of pancreatic juice. Now, what are the different enzymes of the pancreatic juice? Let's mention the enzymes, and then later in the physiology of digestion, we will discuss the various functions of those enzymes. Now, what are the various enzymes of pancreatic juice? Let's discuss one by one. First enzyme in the pancreatic juice is trypsinogen. You might have heard about this trypsinogen. This is first enzyme. Second is trypsinogen. This is one more, trypsinogen, right? And next is third one, that is known as pru-carboxypeptidase. Pru-carboxypeptidase. Let me tell you, all these three enzymes are proteases. They act upon the proteins, they digest the proteins, right? These are proteases. But intriguingly, this trypsinogen, this chemotrypsinogen, this pru-carboxypeptidase, they are secreted in inactive form. They are first inactive. So that they cannot digest the oven tissues, tissues of the digestive system, right? So they are first secreted in the inactive form. They are proenzymes. They are first secreted as proenzymes or zymogens. Proenzymes, or we can say zymogens. Zymogen or proenzyme means inactive. Zymogens. So all these three enzymes, trypsinogen, chemotrypsinogen, right, and pru-carboxypeptidase, these are inactive enzymes. First initially they are inactive, then they become active when there is digestion of proteins in the small intestine. So at the time of digestion they become active. How they become active, we will discuss in the physiology part. Here we are discussing explaining the composition of the pancreatic juice. So trypsinogen is there, chemotrypsinogen is there, pru-carboxypeptidase is there. If I will mention their active forms, trypsinogen will convert into trypsin, then that trypsin will convert these two into their active forms. Trypsinogen will convert into trypsin, chemotrypsinogen will convert into chemotrypsin, and pru-carboxypeptidase will change into carboxypeptidase. You can see prefix here, this is pru means inactive. So trypsinogen into trypsin, chemotrypsinogen into chemotrypsin, and pru-carboxypeptidase into carboxypeptidase. So these are three important proteases or protein enzymes in pancreatic juice. Now, so far as other enzymes are concerned, as I told you, this is the complete juice. Pancreatic juice is complete juice. So in the pancreatic juice there are enzymes for nucleic acids. The enzymes are called nucleases. And nucleases are of both types. They are DNases, enzymes for DNA, and DNases, right? And there are enzymes for RNases, right? A is for the enzyme, right? So there are nucleases, enzymes for the nucleic acids, and there is an enzyme that's very, very important enzyme for the lipids, that's known as pancreatic lipase. This is the principal lipid digesting enzyme, pancreatic lipase. So the pancreatic juice also contain enzymes for lipids, pancreatic lipase. There is also enzymes for some other proteins as well. For example, collagenase, collagen. We intake many foods which contain collagen when we eat other animals in the form of food, right? So their connective tissues contain collagen, and we need to break the collagen in the process of digestion. And here we see an enzyme in the pancreatic juice that can digest the collagen of other collagen protein of other foods which are coming from the different other animals, right? Animal foods. So we have enzyme here that's known as collagenase. We have also elastase to break the elastin, that is one more fiber, connective tissue fiber in different foods, right? So trypsinogen, chemotrypsinogen, pru-carboxypeptidase, nucleases, DNase, RNase, pancreatic lipase, collagenase, elastase, right? So these are the important enzymes of pancreatic juice. Now so far as carbohydrates are concerned, yes, for carbohydrates here we have an enzyme that's known as pancreatic amylase, yes, pancreatic amylase. You know that we have an enzyme in the saliva that's known as ptyalin or salivary amylase, but besides the salivary amylase, there is an enzyme which is very, very important for the digestion of carbohydrates, complete digestion of carbohydrates, that occurs in the small intestine, and here is the enzyme, that is pancreatic amylase, which digests the rest of the starch which escape from the mouth, right, and finally it gets digested in the small intestine with the help of this enzyme, that is pancreatic amylase. So if you look at these all enzymes, there are enzymes for different food molecules in the pancreatic juice, right? Now, these are the organic substances of pancreatic juice. So far as inorganic constants of pancreatic juice are concerned, inorganic components of pancreatic juice, these are different types of minerals. For example, sodium is there, potassium is there in the pancreatic juice, calcium is there, phosphates are there, right, chlorides are there, and the most importantly, that is bicarbonates, which are responsible for the alkaline pH of the pancreatic juice. So these are some inorganic constants of pancreatic juice: sodium, potassium, calcium, phosphate, chlorides, and the bicarbonates, right? So we have to remember the two things, that's organic, that are different types of enzymes of pancreatic juice, right? And then inorganic, these are some metal ions: sodium, potassium, calcium, phosphate, chlorides, and bicarbonates. So this is, guys, composition of pancreatic juice. Now, this was all about the exocrine part of the pancreas, which is responsible for the digestion of various molecules of food, right? Now, so far as endocrine part is concerned, endocrine, the part which produces some hormones, chemical messengers, right, that is lying here, that is in the center of these pancreatic globules. Pancreatic globules are present in the periphery. In the center here, there are many cells, columns of cells here, different cell types are here, and these cells are known as, this endocrine part of the pancreas is known as islets of Langerhans. Islets of Langerhans. He was the man who discovered these cells, that is why so called. Islets of Langerhans, these are the many cell types here in the pancreas, and generally these islets of Langerhans are more in number in the tail part of pancreas, not in the neck, not in the body. In the tail region, you can observe, you can see many islets of Langerhans, many endocrine cells in the pancreas that are lying within that means inside the pancreatic globules. Pancreatic globules are outside exocrine part, and in the center there is this endocrine part. Now, so far as these islets of Langerhans is concerned, these islets of Langerhans consist of many types of cells. There are different types of cells in the islets of Langerhans. For example, the first type of cell in the islets of Langerhans are called alpha cells. Another type of cell is known as beta cells. Let me mention all first: alpha cells, beta cells. Then the third one, these are called delta cells, and the lastly there are some other types of cells called as PP cells. PP stands for pancreatic polypeptide, right, cells. Now, these alpha cells, the alpha cells of the pancreas, the alpha cells of the islets of Langerhans, these constitute the 15%. These are only 15%. Their number is only 15%. They constitute only 50%. They contribute 15%, right? 15. And these alpha cells, they produce a very, very important hormone. That hormone is known as glucagon. They produce a hormone that's known as glucagon, right? Glucagon. What is the function of the glucagon? We will discuss right now. First, let me discuss these beta cells. These beta cells constitute 65% of islets of Langerhans. So, in islets of Langerhans, the most important cells are beta cells. They are more in number. 65% mass is constituted by these beta cells in islets of Langerhans. And these beta cells, they produce a hormone. These beta cells also produce a very, very important hormone that's known as insulin. And I think you have an insight about these two hormones. What is the function of these two hormones? These two hormones, that is insulin from the beta cells and glucagon from the alpha cells, these are two antagonistic hormones. Antagonistic refers to opposite to each other, which are opposite in function. Their physiological function is opposite to each other. So this glucagon, it increases the blood glucose level. It increases blood glucose level. It increases blood glucose level. So whenever there is fall in the blood glucose, for example starvation and all that, whenever there is fall in the blood glucose, the normal blood glucose falls down. At that time the glucagon is responsible for the conversion of glycogen in the liver into glucose. How this happens, what is the physiological process in this, right, that we can go in detail so far as endocrinology is concerned. Here we are actually very much concerned with the pancreas, which is as right now a digestive gland. But since we are discussing the both parts of the pancreas, exocrine we have done, now we are trying to understand what is endocrine part, that we can explain in details in the endocrinology. But till then you can remember at least the hormones of the endocrine part, hormones of the islets of Langerhans. So what are the first type of cells? Alpha cells 15%, and these alpha cells produce glucagon. Beta cells produce insulin, and these two, that is glucagon and insulin, they are opposite to each other. Glucagon increases blood glucose level. So obviously this insulin, it decreases blood glucose level. So both are concerned with the level of the glucose, control of the glucose. So one is increasing when there is fall and another is decreasing when there is excess of glucose in the blood. So this means these two hormones are very much responsible for the regulation of blood glucose level, and whenever there is problem with any one of them, there is either decrease in the blood glucose level, that is hypoglycemia, or there is increase in the blood glucose level, that is hyperglycemia. Both the conditions are very fatal, both the conditions are severe when there is decrease in the blood glucose level consistently, right, or increase in the blood glucose level. But normally that doesn't happen, guys. Normally these two hormones, that is glucagon and insulin, they control the blood glucose level, they balance the glucose level, right. One is increasing when there is fall and another is decreasing when there is excess of glucose in the blood. And that is why when there is problem with the insulin, when there is deficiency of insulin, when the pancreatic cells, when the beta cells are not producing the sufficient insulin, there is a very drastic condition, very serious condition, that's known as diabetes mellitus. Diabetes mellitus, right. This is a worldwide disease, this is a lifestyle disorder. Many individuals become diabetic in their late age, for example after 30s or 40s, right. In their advanced age, most of the individuals, they become diabetic, that is diabetes mellitus is their type 2, diabetes mellitus type 2, insulin independent diabetes, that is also called, right, insulin independent diabetes. Anyways, we will come to this physiological disorder, metabolic disorder in the endocrine part. Here it is not, I think, worth mentioning, because we are concerned with the digestive system and we are explaining pancreas as a digestive gland. But I thought I should give you a brief explanation of the endocrine part of pancreas as well, so that we can go into details of the islets of Langerhans, endocrine part of the pancreas in our endocrinology part, right. Now so far we have discussed alpha cells. Alpha cells are 15%, they produce the glucagon that increases the blood glucose level when there is fall, and insulin decreases the blood glucose level when there is excess of glucose in the blood. This is, we can say, this glucagon, it is hyperglycemic hormone, and this one, this one, this is hypoglycemic hormone, because it decreases, this one increases. Now these are the functions of these two hormones. Now coming to the another cell that I discussed, mentioned, the type of cell was delta cells. So what about delta cells? Delta cell, these delta cells, they produce a hormone that's known as somatostatin. Somatostatin. Let me tell you, this somatostatin is produced in many regions of the body. It is produced by different tissues of the body. It is also produced by the brain as well. It is also produced by the hypothalamus as well, right? Many neurons are producing the somatostatin. So this somatostatin, its general function is, it is anti-growth hormone. It is anti-growth hormone. It is anti-growth hormone, somatostatin. It is anti-growth hormone. It is against the physiological functions of growth hormone, right? But here its function is in the delta cells of the pancreas, and so far as the functions of the pancreas are concerned, here it controls the secretion, this somatostatin, it controls the secretions of alpha and beta cells as well. So it is a switch for the alpha cells and beta cells, whether they will release this glucagon and insulin by the beta cells, right? So this is another function of the somatostatin, but its general function is anti-growth hormone produced by the delta cells of the pancreas. So this was the third type of cell. Lastly, I mentioned the PP cells. PP cells, pancreatic polypeptide cells. Now they produce a peptide hormone. That hormone is known as PP hormone, that is pancreatic peptide hormone. And this pancreatic peptide hormone, it is inhibitory. It inhibits the secretions of alpha cells and beta cells, number one. And number two, it inhibits the secretion of pancreatic juice. It inhibits, let me write here, it inhibits the secretion of pancreatic juice. It inhibits the secretion of pancreatic juice. So it controls the secretion of pancreatic juice from the pancreas. So these are the four types of cells that we can see in the islets of Langerhans: alpha cells, beta cells, delta cells and PP cells, and we also mentioned their various hormones, right? So this is all about the pancreas, exocrine part and endocrine part. But from the digestion point of view, I would like to remind again, right, you need right now the exocrine part and its various secretions, that is enzymes, that I mentioned one by one, right? So this is another gland that we have concluded. Now we have a very brief topic regarding the digestive glands, that is the intestinal glands, that we will see in the upcoming video, and the rest of the things in the digestive system. Stay happy, stay blessed.